So this is a very exciting episode because we, for the first time, have our episode called Palmas Peeps and the Parents Who Made Them.
Yeah.
And our guests are Shawn Cannon and his mother, Kathy. Welcome to the show.
Wait. It's Kathy Sokolowicz.
For clarification.
Because I love saying her name.
The fact that you got it right is amazing.
I don't know how to spell it, though. I started to write it.
Try to spell it.
It's all O's.
No, stop it.
Okay.
Don't.
I figured SOKOLOWICZ.
That's
Yep.
it.
That's
Oh my God! I got it.
This
Nailed
lady,
it.
she picks up a new last name every decade or so. Yeah,
well,
you know
no,
what I mean?
she got married to the wonderful Al. Al's over here looking at us. You're like, didn't change to my name.
Yeah. What's up with that?
She got married.
What's up with that?
She
Kathy
got-
Morrison sounds legit.
Yeah, that
I
does
know,
sound
but
nice.
there
And
was
much
so many
easier to
things
spell.
to change.
Who cares?
So
It would have
what?
been 37 different things.
All you have to do is just say, I'm Kathy Morrison.
Oh, I like
yeah.
the way
Everything
that
else
sounds.
will eventually just
Yeah.
it's called an alias.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like I went for years
Yeah.
as Shawn Michael. And so I could sign my name legally as Shawn Michael, like it was Shawn Michael.
Yeah, you got the
Even though
you got the
my
best
name is Shawn
guy.
Cannon.
You
Yeah.
get to use
Kathy
use that.
Morrison.
Yeah,
See, I got
Kathy
you, Al.
Morrison.
Kathy
Okay,
Morrison's
we're
in the
changing her
house.
name. It's officially now Kathy
Morrison.
Morrison.
And
Mrs.
just a note, I took out this morning the cupcakes from last year when you guys got married. So I have 4 cupcakes, and they have been defrosting, sitting on my
So
counter.
that's for
after
dessert?
They've been. Well, I don't know how good they're gonna be because they have been
Yeah,
sitting
but
in my
I
freezer for
think-
1 year.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Yay.
I
Yeah.
think cake lasts forever. That's not true at all.
Nope.
No?
That's
No.
not true at all.
But I know for a year it does.
Yeah, I mean, sure, if you freeze it,
Yeah.
it lasts at least 2 more days.
You
So-
were excited
I
for
don't
that
know
so you
how
could
this
make
works.
more room for creamies, huh?
Yes, I was. I've had this container of 4 cupcakes
Do
that
I
I've
get a
had to
cupcake?
hide. That I've had to hide from Shawn. So
There's
over
4.
the year, so that is kept. You have not eaten them. So we thought that this would be kind of a fun way because this podcast is all about Palmas and how much we love this community. Well, all these amazing people came from somewhere, came from someone. So it's cool that we get to have when parents or siblings are in town to actually have them on the show and have them talk about things that we don't know about them. And so thank you, Kathy, for coming.
You're welcome.
We appreciate you being the guinea pigs for this segment.
Yeah, I think it's going to go really, really well. I'm trying to think of what would be the best way to launch this.
Well, June 9th,
Okay, here we go.
Oh, June 9th.
on a balmy afternoon,
Balmy.
at what, 3:20 something p.m., I tried coming out of that lady's legs. It
Tried.
wasn't happening. It wasn't for the lack of trying. I don't give up.
No.
That-
I don't give
I was
up.
in labor for probably 24 hours.
See?
It was probably June 8th. And then you were born on June 9th when they
Wow.
See?
decided to do a C-section.
Look at that.
Oh, wow.
And they asked me if I wanted to be awake. I said, put me out.
Yet
Yes,
you decided to
please.
have more kids after this one. This one didn't scare you away.
I was a perfect child. I was the perfect baby.
He
We're
came
gonna-
out as
we're
a
gonna
cone
talk about
head.
that.
He came out as a cone head.
'Cause he couldn't
Even
come
though
out.
you had a C-section?
Well,
Because I was
he
stuck
was
in the
pushing
canal.
forever and
They
ever
had
and
to pull me
ever.
out the other way.
Oh, okay.
They grabbed me by a leg or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna die if I just kept that.
Because he
thing.
couldn't get through. My
Yeah.
pelvic bones
Yeah,
are
modern
too
medicine.
close.
Look at that, modern medicine. Like
Wow.
200 years ago, we would have just been a couple dead mofo's. You know what I mean? But
Which,
nah, hey.
which makes perfect sense.
Actually, they were cutting babies out like 200 years ago. When did they first? When do you think they've probably been doing that since women have been pregnant? Yeah,
Let's fact check that.
Yeah, we need to fact
cutting
check
out
that
babies
for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
No idea when that started.
I'm pretty sure. Either
Or
way.
we need to hire a fact checker to just sit
Either
here
way.
and
Yes.
like the whole time
Yeah.
be like,
We
you
need
guys
a
are
ju-
wrong. Stop
pull that
talking.
up, Al.
Oh, yeah. Al's here. Al can be our fact
Al,
checker.
can you please Google when
It doesn't matter.
when they started doing cesareans?
And get back to us.
Yeah, let us know.
I would. Let's guess though. I bet like that's been a practice for thousands of years. Without
I was
question.
I was gonna go with like sometime in the
I would even say BC. I would say like Egyptians were probably doing that.
Nuh-uh.
I bet any money.
I'm going to go with sometime in the 20th century.
No way. Maybe
I'm
like
gonna
when they
say
gave
like
it the name.
1850 is
Hey,
my
come
guess,
on,
somewhere
man.
in there when
Oh,
they
baby.
just
Cutting
they
them out?
figured it. Well, when was anesthesia started?
Why
you
would
have
you
an
need
answer for us?
anesthesia? There was a time they were doing surgery before
Googling
anesthesia.
when was the first C-section done?
Anesthesia.
Anastasia? Who is she?
Fact check me.
Who is Anastasia?
Anesthesia.
There you go.
Came after surgery. I'm almost positive of that because before then, dudes were just drinking whiskey and just they had sedatives and all these different ways to calm people down. Marijuana, for instance, all that other stuff. So anesthesia came later as a means of how do we perform surgery without people freaking out. Because like back in the Civil War, they didn't have. I don't think there was such a thing as anesthesia. So they had to hold dudes down and had them bite onto like dog bones and stuff like that, so they could hack their arms.
We
off,
really
'cause
need a fact checker on this show,
I-
especially when we have Shawn Cannon.
I know. Here's an interesting thing about Shawn Cannon. I retain a ridiculous amount of information that's largely factual. Sometimes I might get mistaken, but I'm usually right even if I'm wrong.
All right, Al has
What is it?
delivered information.
715 BC.
What? Didn't I
come
say
on.
BC?
What? Wow.
Well, you just have to
Whoa.
think about it from a logical perspective. At that point, it's not like when
Now-
did baby bumps start? Like all the time.
Wait,
Yes.
I checked ChatGPT. Successful C-section. So they were botching.
No. Hold on. But you're using the word C-section, cesarean. So that's a medical terminology
Yeah.
of when they said that this is the practice of how we're going to do this under this surgical environment, and then that's when you see what I'm saying?
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
that. Now I'm just going to say the earliest documented successful C-section where a mother survived was performed in the early 16th century.
Okay, sure. But that again, that's
They've been cutting
right.
cutting chicks up since
Forever.
Ever.
forever. Anyway, so I came violently into this earth
With a cone head.
with a cone head.
Now, how long did it take for the cone head to go away?
Oh, I have no idea. I
while.
think within a day. Because your head's so
We're soft.
soft. They
Sure.
probably, the
Shawn, we have
nurses
that in
probably
common.
just.
I was a conehead as well.
No?
Did you have to
We're
wear a
like-
helmet?
No.
We should
They didn't
start
do
a
that stuff
Palmas
back then.
Conies group.
Yeah.
Now,
Just a bunch of coneheads.
now they just try to sell you on these helmets that kids need
Yeah,
to
that's
mold their heads perfectly.
That's a talk with a different mother.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. But anyway, so
My nephew has to wear one, or had to wear one. But it wasn't because of his head. It's because of his neck.
Enough about you two.
sorry.
More
Right.
about how perfect I was that first year as an
You know
infant.
what,
That
Kathy?
first
Let's
year.
talk about how amazing Shawn was the first year of life.
And then it went
It
downhill.
was cool for the first 11 months. And then this other thing popped up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, it's time for some fun again, and then Felicia popped out.
Yeah,
She
11
didn't-
and a half months.
She
For
didn't
3
think
weeks.
you could get pregnant so shortly after you had your
Right.
first one. And now
Well,
I
that
know.
was not what it was.
The universe
So-
fact checked you.
I was an only child for 11 months.
Good thing you didn't know any better at the time.
I knew everything. I have early memories. I honestly
You
do.
know, I will say this about Shawn: he does have early memories.
Here's a
Crazy
here's a
early memories.
really awkward early memory. I remember being laid out on the doctor's desk with the paper, like the crinkly paper, and him putting a thermometer in my butt. I remember that. I remember the feeling of that. I'm what, an infant, maybe 1.5.
Wow.
Yeah. There are some people that remember being inside the womb. I don't have those memories. But that's like, if I were to look back to my earliest memory, that's that. It's not, it's in it, because when you're looking back at the memory, you're almost reconstructing it, because at the time, you don't really fucking know what's going on. It's almost like when you experience something when you're 10 years old, and then like years later, you're like, oh, my uncle's a pervert, or some crazy thing like that. It was like that. Like, okay, crinkly paper, this, that, and then.
This is one of your why you have an aversion to things in your butt. I
Nothing
mean,
goes-
not like
nothing-
this has never been a conversation between him and I. I mean, it's not like
Nothing
that.
goes in my
It ain't
butt.
like that. But we are about to go to a health like retreat for 2 weeks, and where you're supposed to do like daily enemas and stuff, and he's refusing, which I still think
Is it
Only.
because of that memory?
I would.
No, there's actually one
Who
more
knows,
memory.
maybe.
No,
Maybe.
there is one more memory that he has about that.
Shall I? Either way, I would rather. I would rather tattoo exit only with an arrow pointing down in my butthole than have anything go in my butthole.
I do
finger
agree
or
with this
otherwise.
sentiment. I mean,
I won't do a colonoscopy. They better hurry up with technology and figure out something else, because I'm just rolling that die, baby. Just rolling that one. But anyways.
Okay.
So do you remember?
Let's move on to a new topic.
I had a minor surgery in my early 20s. Do you remember that?
I know you had an appendectomy.
Yes. So I had an appendectomy.
Good memory.
I had an appendectomy, and it caused me to have like a little bit of a stomach ache, and at the time I didn't know what it was. It was actually just a terrible stomach ache, and it never really went away. And so every which way I'm rolling, it just doesn't get comfortable. And of course, like the lady at the time, yeah, you're being a man, like man cold type of crap. So I'm like, just get like some milk of magnesia, get something. Nothing was working. I lived within walking distance of a hospital. Like literally 2 blocks away was like Columbia Medical Nursing College or whatever. So I go over there, and then they're like right away, they're sitting me down, they're treating me well, and there was like 5 doctors, and at the time now I recognize that these are like learning doctors. There's like 5 doctors, each one of them come in and did the same thing: raise your leg, do this, do that, whatever. Yeah, you probably got appendicitis. So it's five of them, and then like 2 minutes after the fact, there's this little doctor, little guy. He had a colored turtleneck. See, I remember this thing.
He wasn't wearing a coat.
He was not wearing a coat. He did not identify himself at all. Didn't identify himself. Went into the closet, put on some rubber gloves, shifted me to my side, and told me to relax. That's what he did, as he was rubbing his finger over my butthole. So naturally, exit only. So I'm clinching this thing, and he was like, I need you to relax. So I tighten your butt as much as you think you can, and then just sort of release. Whoop! Finger went in my ass. I literally screamed in the hospital. It was all done. It was done in like, a second and a half or whatever the case may be. Surgery, successful. And then, people started greeting me after the surgery, like the next day, right? So all 5 of those doctors came in and said, like, hey, how are you? Everything's good.
Hold on. Wait, what was this guy doing?
Wait.
Oh, no.
Wait. This is the saga, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
So you know who didn't show up?
That guy.
Dr. Scratch and fucking Sniff. Nowhere to be known, nowhere to be seen. So I'm like, yo, like after the fact, again, like when you're like processing after the fact.
You're like, who is that guy?
I'm like, what the F? What? My story to tell. What the F was that? The fuck was that? I was like, I was convinced, and then Krista, my ex-wife girlfriend at the time, she's like, no, because it's so outrageous. So then fast forward like 5-6 years, there was this provocative show on the FX network called
Nip Tuck.
Okay, and then on Nip Tuck, there was an episode. No, hold on. There was an episode of a guy that dressed up like a doctor and snuck into clinics and hospitals, sodomizing them. So Krista looks at me and she's like, I know, my guy told you. I was raped on that bed in front of you in Columbia Hospital. So now, fast forward, I'm getting a little excited, I apologize. Fast forward, this is traumatic, mind you.
Your nose is sweating.
Yeah. Fast forward. So now I may or may not have been raped. I would think that there's probably 80% chance not. But every now and again, maybe that weird psycho fetish in me wants to just pretend that Dr. Scratches Sniff's out there, just making more of me out there.
Needless to say, this is an exit-only situation.
Yeah. Yes. And
Did
Shawn,
you know that?
Shawn
No,
won't
I
be.
didn't know that.
Shawn won't be doing the
There's
enema.
so much we don't know about you, Shawn.
Right?
So I feel like I want to bring this back to Kathy, since she is here with us, and we want to get
And she's
some...
barely spoken a word.
I know it, but she also knows that Shawn is... Yeah, so she's used to this. I mean, honestly, Kathy, you are used to this, are you not?
Yes.
Has he always been this way?
Yes.
Now, in different varying degrees. When I was young, I was more, at home, I was more extroverted. Outside, I was like tremendously introverted.
Oh, we have to talk about this, actually. We have to mediate this because, so we have a picture of Shawn when he was young, and Shawn is concerned. He's like that you allowed him to go out in public looking like this.
And don't worry,
with
listeners.
his hair and
we're
his-
going.
Oh,
we're going to share
we
this
are
picture.
100% going to share this picture of Shawn with his hair and his glasses.
All I can say is if Screech had a black daddy and glasses. That's about even the attire.
You know what that is, Shawn? If Screech had a
see it
black
again.
daddy and glasses.
I didn't wear.
Yeah,
for sure.
I didn't wear. I used to
Accurate.
wear Ocean Pacific pants, like those.
But
baggy.
you know what? I will say
Remember
this.
that one shirt you had?
Ooh.
Which one?
It was like some kind of red plaid shirt, and it was your favorite shirt.
Oh yes. So
and he
yeah.
took 2 years of school pictures with the exact same shirt.
I think it went longer than that because Tom, her brother, my uncle Tom, had a refrigerator of like photographs over the years. I think it was
You
like
know,
a
the school
5-year period
pictures
of
you
time or
send
something
all
like that.
your
But it was
relatives.
even candid photos too.
It was always in that shirt.
I was always wearing that damn shirt.
Which is funny because that was actually one of my questions, which was most embarrassing fashion phase. So
Yeah.
would that be it?
I never like I don't know if I know what embarrassment is. You know, like I don't know. You know, like I think I do, but I don't. Like I never am like, oh, I'm embarrassed, so I'm not gonna.
But you might have been when you were a kid.
I don't really know if I was ever embarrassed.
Well, you did though, because you talked to me once about how you thought that your knees looked weird.
Yeah, but okay, like being
Your
self-conscious of yourself, I don't think is the same thing as embarrassment.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I had self-conscious issues because, you know, I was not an attractive kid by any means. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to grow up like as an ugly child. That's a way different experience than YouTube bitches that came out looking all fucking glamorous.
Oh,
I don't
no,
know, I
no,
think-
no,
Oh,
no,
shut
no,
the
no.
F up.
No.
Oh, my God.
Hey,
We'll show you
Before I
some
was a
pictures.
10, I was a
here's
7.
this is me. That ain't good looking right there.
Okay, that's fucked up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, but
we're
that's
gonna
like
post this
before
picture too. That's me.
boobs showed
Ooh,
up,
yeah.
you know?
This
You know
is
what
when
I mean?
I went through. I think that everybody goes through a really awkward phase.
yeah.
I had wire glasses. I was not cute.
I mean, I had big permed hair with huge glasses and braces.
It wasn't until I was 14. So I had an afro most of my life, and I'm sorry, most of my childhood. And then when I was 15 years old, I was a sophomore in high school, and this guy Matt Bailey. Yeah, you met him, Matt Bailey. He was like one of the most popular fucking guys in school. For whatever reason, he just befriended me. You didn't have to, you didn't need to, but he just did. And he was like, "I'm cutting your fro off one of these days." He kept threatening to cut my fro off. And the one day he did. He took me on the bus when we went to his house. He cut my afro off. And I remember walking out feeling like wind in my hair, like my head for the first time.
We have that picture too.
Oh, yeah.
Let me
yeah.
see
So that's
that.
after. That was probably shortly after, maybe 6 months after. So then he cut my hair. And then I started becoming a little bit more attractive. It wasn't really until I ditched my glasses. So when I got at contacts and my short hair, I
Oh,
was like
yeah.
I was a good-looking kid.
Oh my gosh, he
Except
was
I didn't-
so good looking.
I didn't know that.
That's his military photo. We're gonna post all 3 of these photos.
Okay.
Because he was a stud. Like I will say this, like I
Yeah,
would have been totally
was a
like
stud.
when you were like junior year Shawn Cannon.
Oh, where's that photo?
I can't find that one.
With the green backdrop.
But I would have been.
I would've did
He was
me.
such a bad boy. I would
But
have been like, he's
can we
cute.
talk about that photo because
Which
you
one?
told us the story
Oh,
before we
yeah.
started
The military,
recording.
his
yeah,
military.
here's a military propaganda 101. So take a good look at that photo. That was my second day on base. I had never even met my drill sergeant yet at that point. And part of the initial process is they like shoot you up with all the drugs. Like so I've had every vaccine. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive I got the anthrax vaccine in that whole thing because that's what they do with the military. So there was a point where they're shuffling everybody in, and we're all standing in a line, and they take you one by one, and they throw a fake army uniform on you. Just zip up in the back. It was literally like a costume where you just put your hands in the front, and there's a flag in the back, and they're like, "Smile good for your family."
And he never smiled again.
Because I was, you know, you're happy, you're excited, you know, you don't
Well, that was a
realize how
big
much that was
deal.
going to suck.
That was a
you
big
know?
deal for you.
It was probably that was definitively one of the most terrifying times in my life because that was like the first time like I ever like left home, and not only did I leave home, this was pre-internet shit. So like I was gone, and that was it. I was gone. I wrote letters to people. That was how. And I think once a week I could get on the phone and talk or something like that.
So I have a question for Kathy. What is one thing that Shawn did as a child that you can never forget?
The one thing, and it's real cute, is when he cheated in a race.
He cheated in a race?
Yeah, he must have been 5.
6 years old.
And my brother Ken was like the goalie, like get ready, get set, go. And Felicia and Shawn were on Hot Wheels. And then
There were those big power wheels. Remember, they were like tricycles with a big wheel in the front.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
plastic. And then little Stevie, his cousin, was like 1 maybe, so he's
2.
running along. And they start out together, and Felicia got way ahead.
I want to say why. Her tire was more round than mine. My tire, despite it being a plastic tire, ended up somehow still with a hole in it, so I had a puncture in it. So every time it turned, it had to go through that little flat square spot.
Yeah.
So I gave myself, at the time I didn't realize, they like to call it cheating. But years later, upon a realization of who I really am, was understanding that there is such a thing as a handicap. And if I had a disadvantage, I needed to negate that disadvantage. So,
But
yeah, I
my
cheated.
brother has it all on tape. Felicia's all the way to the corner, and then they have to come back. So she's turning around. Shawn's maybe, I don't know, partway to the corner. He stops, turns his Hot Wheel around, and continues back.
So he doesn't go all the way to the corner.
He doesn't go all the way to the corner.
I'm looking at my list of questions, and I'm just laughing at some of them. I don't know anything I can ask them.
These are better questions, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Oh.
Thank
I
you very
appreciate
much,
that.
sir. I really appreciate it. Hey, it's been documented. He said it out loud.
I have some good ones. What's the silliest thing that Shawn believed as a child that you never corrected him on?
This was maybe when they were teens, early teens, and they asked me if I had ever smoked marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
And
you
my
said no?
answer was, well, what do you think? And then that was the end of that.
And you believed her?
I don't recall that being the answer. I like to think that she wants to make that the answer. I think it was a definitive no. Never. But it's okay. We have different memories of the same. The sentiment was, regardless of what was said, that my mother didn't smoke marijuana.
Did?
Did not. We used to have magazines, so it might have been one of those magazines that was like one of the rare luxuries that I had as a kid, like a lecture company magazine. And I smacked the fly on the window, and it fell down, and I could not find it. And she said, that's because it disintegrated.
I do
So-
not remember that.
I know you don't, but for years, I remember years, like when I would see like dead flies on the sill, you know how like fly, I'm like, why isn't it disintegrating? Like what? It wasn't until like 11 maybe. I'm like, oh, it's like, they just don't. She lied to me, and I didn't. It's not one of those things you confront somebody on. It's almost like the Santa Claus thing. You don't confront your parent like, hey, you lied to me. What? How long did I believe in Santa? I remember believing in Santa.
A long time.
I believe.
Probably around 10.
No, it had to be. I think there was a point. There was a point where I definitively wanted you to believe that I still believe in Santa. But I remember.
Isn't that funny how you do that for your
Yeah.
parents?
Yeah,
this-
I definitively remember that.
This actually brings up a really good question that I really wanted to ask.
I have a big one. I got a big one.
Yeah, we know that.
No. Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. Well, I mean,
Are we leaving that in?
It's a story.
Yes.
I'll never tell.
She
But,
knows.
but
She bore him.
yeah. Okay. All right. So I was like around 10 years old. This was on 46th, 47th. Do we live on 46th or 47th?
We lived on 47th.
47th Street, 5044 North
Hampton and
47th Street. Joe
Villard.
Cherney owned that place, right? We were
Yeah.
there till I was about the age of 10. See, I remember these things. 447-5517 was the phone number to
His
the
eyes are
house.
getting crazy. They
Okay.
don't. Oh, they
area
think-
code
thanks for
414.
blinking.
You didn't need to say the area code back in those days. Check this out. There was one. I used to sleep with the blanket over my heads. I've never told you this. Okay. I did reference it once. Okay. I used to sleep with the heads over my covers, and I because of that, and maybe that's why you bought me real thin blankets or something like that, but I had a very thin blanket that had this Native American on it, and I would just sleep with it over my head so I could breathe, and sometimes it doesn't matter. There was one evening where I wake up. Here's another thing. I was terrified of the night. Terrified. So much that I would recall waking up in the middle of the night having to go pee, and I would opt to pee in my bed because I knew kids just peed in their bed sometimes. So I would like just pee in my bed as opposed to like going. So I'd go to the side of the bed, pee, and then go back. So I'd have to sleep in my own pee. But anyways, so this is important, and this is interesting. So I don't even know how you're gonna react or respond or whatever. But there was a bright light one night, a vibrant bright light over my encompassed everything that I could see, and a 3-fingered hand scrolled down the front of my face over what I believe to be was the blanket, and I was not terrified. I didn't feel anything, or it was nothing like that. But I remember the next morning, I asked you about it. I was like, I had, I think I even maybe said dream, or like I had, and then you just, well, it was a dream. So fast forward years later, decades later, I'm talking within like the last 5 years, I'm hunting around Reddit, and I come across this alien. So we're going to go into that world, alien encounter type of thing. And I'm like, fuck it, this is an anonymous place. Let me post this story. So I post the story. Holy shit, it went on fire with people having the same experiences, similar situations. A lady drew and posted the same hand. And that fucked me up. So,
Did you know where they were from?
Here's what I know. Here's what I know. I remember that like a memory. I don't remember my dreams. There's some dreams actually, when you think about remembering your dream, you don't really remember your dreams. I can remember maybe 2 recurring dreams that I've had, but like I would really have to actively think about dreams that I've had. But you remember your memories. Sometimes your memories fade into what feels like a dream, but really you remember your memories. This is a fucking memory. Some people might call it angels, demons, alien. It doesn't matter the terminology. Something happened to me. And there was also a time frame, too, when I was young, that I, in that same bed, where I would have the feeling that I was being levitated. I would have this weird, awkward feeling, and it would start with my feet first, where I would have this like sensation of being levitated. I would recognize it sometimes, and then it would stop. Right, so I just figured that was, like a thing for years where, some people jerk, like they just jerk in their sleep. Nobody seems to share that type of experience except people that have had these encounters.
Well, I have something to explain.
So what's up?
Something that you don't know about Shawn. He's actually an alien. His real name is Cassandro Filarno from the planet Flarenex in the quadrants sector B galaxy. So you know.
I am an alien. By the way.
He is an alien. His name is Cassandro. If you'd ever want to call him by that.
Birth. I was one of the original conies.
Cassandro
we call
Filarno.
conies on my planet. And then we
wonder if I have a
great
name.
opportunity.
We will from time to time get like these it's like I just gotta download.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a real thing. I honest to goodness, honest to God, believe I was abducted by aliens, and I think that's why I'm interesting. That's why I think I have an abstract way of thinking, and I'm just highly intelligent for some weird reason.
So do you think they took you and they were like bringing you back?
I have no idea. I really don't know.
Did you know?
And this is the first time
When
I
we
ever talked
lived,
about it.
he was 3.5. Felicia was 2.5. Felicia had her room, which was like a 4-season room with all windows, and then there was the kitchen, and on the other side there was another one, but it wasn't all windows. But there was a stained glass window up in the curtain, up in the ceiling, real high.
How old was I?
3.5.
Okay, go ahead.
To 4.5.
I remember that house, but yeah.
And he would sleep with a blanket over his head because he kept saying, I don't know what, something was going to lick him.
The bat was going to spit on me.
Yeah.
I remember that now. And
The bat was going to spit
bat
on
was
you?
gonna
And it
spit
was
on me.
coming from the stained glass window.
Interesting.
I think these mofos been taking me for a hot minute when I was a kid.
I wonder if they were doing butt stuff with you too.
Oh
It
my
might have
God.
been doing
Maybe
that.
that's my aversion. I'm like, I got enough of that already. I've had this my whole life. I don't need more of it. At least I got it from like sophisticated technology.
I will
That's
say
a
this
pervert.
from time to time, Shawn will use a word that I have never heard him say, and he'll look at me and he'll be like, "Did I use that? You know what? Let me look to make sure I use that word out of in context because."
And I'll spell it too.
And he'll spell it and he'll look it up and be like, "Yeah, I did use that right." And it's a word that I'm like, that's not a word that I would ever think to say.
Right.
And it's so because he is very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
He's got a great vocabulary.
Now,
and so for him to say,
that, I think I read a lot.
yes.
I mean, I used to hang out at the library and even read. You know, do you remember that? Like, I would take a bus to the library after school. We went to the library. You remember that? How do you see?
Needless to say, we do sometimes believe that he's getting downloads.
I've read in my, I've read over 1,000 books.
But
Easily.
we
Maybe
also
even
know
2,000.
that Shawn is a very unique personality. He's unique.
So I think what
gifted.
happens is because I read so much, like you, like they say that your brain keeps everything, and it's just a matter of recalling it. So I think I just read like I've read the Bible 4 times. So sometimes it's not like I can quote the Bible
Cover to cover.
but like there'll be so many instances where we'll be in a discussion of the Bible, and I'll bring up a story. I'll just bring it up. I'm like, I've never talked about that. I just bring it up and I'll give it a reference because I just read it. I read it 4 times,
Do you
That's
guys
crazy.
have any secrets that you've never told each other?
Yeah, probably plenty. Here's a good one. Oh, no. Should I? Yeah. Woo. I was an adult, though. I was way an adult. Oh my God,
Sometimes I
it's
wish
not
this was a
good.
video podcast.
I
It's not
know.
good.
I know, 'cause
All
that
right,
face
it's
was
not
on-
bad. It's
yeah.
not bad. This your which husband? Number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3.
Okay.
We had me and a previous engagement that I had to babysit him, and we just went downstairs and had a lot of sex in the basement like that like the whole fucking time.
You need
Why
to be
did
more.
you have to babysit
You need to be
him?
more specific.
Because he had a surgery or something like that, and he was like out of whack.
No, you need to be more specific because you said we, and you need to be more specific with.
I said a prior engagement.
There, okay.
I.e., not you.
And
I
that-
did less babysitting and way more having sex in every room in your basement.
Well, I never knew that. And
Well,
he
there's
must
that.
not either because he was probably doped up.
Yeah. So,
Do you have any secrets, Kathy?
there's plenty.
that
there's
you
things.
That you're willing to share.
that you're.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
Yes.
Because then you
Yeah,
gotta
no.
change the dynamics. Let me think of a really good secret that
I
wouldn't
have,
hurt.
I have a
hurt
question
Ann.
for Kathy. When Shawn said, "Hey, we're gonna move to Puerto Rico," were you surprised?
Yes,
Hmm.
because he had just went on a vacation, then comes back, and within a month, wasn't it? You
It
were,
was a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, everything was sold and packed up and gone.
No, we didn't even sell anything. We gave everything away.
We gave it away. We didn't expect to move here. It was our plan. We're like, you know what? We're gonna go visit. We're gonna check things out. Blah 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 blah. And we just felt, so many of us have this similar story where it was like a very rash decision, and it was at an interesting time, with COVID and Amazon scratching up our business left and right, I would like to think that it wasn't. I don't think I've ever lived a normal life, ever. Like
Would
I don't
you
think
agree?
I don't. I would like when
Yeah.
I think of when you look at like the arc of my birth to where I am now, and that stretch, and how many socioeconomic environments I had to rise through, and all the prejudices that I had to go through. I lived in Janesville when the KKK was still there. You know what I mean? Like I went into a bar and it was all white dudes, and they're like, brother, and not in the good way, brother. That's crazy. This lifetime, and it's
That you would think it wouldn't be
No,
like
it's-
that
it's-
there because
like
it's
a
the
couple years-
north. It's the
No.
It was not. It was a couple years prior that a cross was burned on a professor that was black, and then that was also where Geraldo Rivera got famously into a fight with the Grand Dragon. Because
Yeah.
that was in Janesville. Either way, I never imagined I'd be sitting here with you talking like in this capacity, like ever. And it's unbelievable. It's amazing.
I think
How does it
I
feel?
always knew that you were headed for greater things.
And you know what also is interesting? I also knew that. You know who also knew that? Your mother. She would hug me tight. And maybe she said this to all our grandkids. And she was just like, "You're just so special. I just feel it." She would just say that to me, give me that big wet kiss. And I chose to believe it. You know, and I just chose, no matter, and I've been through some shit, and there will be stories that me and this woman have shared that we will never, they go with us to our grave. You know what I mean? But it's like, despite, like, I always knew I was going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, a friend of ours, Peter Kozadoy, calls that a premonition, that you're able to somehow maybe perhaps see into your future to a degree, and maybe not quite understand it, but just like know these things. But I always knew that, you know.
You know what's really cool is when I first got together with Shawn, he was having monthly dates with you, Kathy. He's like, I have date night with my mom once a month.
I used to date her weekly.
that.
It was weekly?
Yeah, there was a time. I would say like 17 to maybe when I went into the military, we would date like once a week. The most memorable one of those was we went to see, this is not a good idea, by the way. If you're going to go into the military, don't take your mom to see like Saving Private Ryan.
Oh God.
So I was joining the military as Saving Private. We saw it in the theaters. Yeah, you know, and it was a crazy rainy day. Do you remember how rainy that day was? You probably don't. So here's how rainy it was. She drops me, takes me back to my car. I take my car. No, I go to Blockbuster because that was a thing back then. I rented a couple movies, made sure they had nudity because that's what you did when you were 19 years old.
Nudity that you're going to watch with your mother?
Yeah, not with my mom.
Okay. Just confirming.
I mean, there are families, but we ain't that family. You know, you flip it around, you're like swearing check,
Well, no, but,
nudity
like,
check.
I have a funny story
But like
about
you
that.
go to a
But
movie
anyways.
and you don't know what it's going to be, and then you're like sitting there watching sex scenes with your mom.
Anyways.
Been through that. Not
Anyways,
fun.
actually, the first sex scene I saw was with my mother. But hold
Oh,
on,
that's
another
nice.
thing.
These are great memories.
But hold on. But that was something accidental, and she didn't know. We'll talk about that in a second. But it was raining torrentially in Milwaukee, and I lived at the bottom of a valley. I lived on 56 and Mill Road. Do you remember that little apartment? And I had to swim to my house because it got so bad I couldn't even get there. So I had this Blockbuster tape, and I just wrapped it up in the bag. So I just swam to my house, and then like I remember calling her, and I was one of the few
I remember
kids, by the way, that
this.
had a cell phone. I had a Primeco phone, so I'm calling her on my Primeco phone, burning minutes. Like, what do I do? And like you were like. Something about taking a bath and putting bleach in it or something like that.
Oh,
First
there we
sex
go.
scene. Okay.
There we go.
So,
Hey, brought
this
him
is
back.
important to me. So my birthday is June 9th. So on my golden birthday, so I had okay. You don't have to know this, and this is okay. But who's my favorite actor of all time? Okay. Michael J. Fox.
Oh, Michael J.
is
That's
my
right.
favorite
It is.
actor of
That
all
is his
time.
favorite, and they share a
For
birthday.
some reason.
Oh,
when
really?
He was,
Yeah.
when he was on Family Ties, played Alex P. Keaton. He was a kid that wore a suit to work, and he had Chuck Wall Street. I was so obsessed with this. Do you remember?
Maybe that's why you are who you are.
Probably.
Love it.
Do you remember? And the reference there is because that's what I do for a living. I trade the financial markets. Do you remember that I used to track stocks with the Sunday paper?
Oh, yeah.
And I would keep it on a ledger, on a notebook. So I'm like, I must have been 11, 12,
Wow.
maybe. Yeah, I was in
There's
grade
so
school.
much I don't know about you, Shawn
Yeah.
Cannon.
I was like
Yeah.
probably 6th or 7th grade tracking this, and I could not wait to get to high school because in high school they had like this actual class where you could like demo, like you could like you could have a pretend trade account because I was sitting there doing it successfully. I remember buying like and I don't remember how much I made or whatever, but I remember being profitable, and I remember like picking because my philosophy at that time was if 11 maybe philosophy. Maybe I'm not using that terminology. Maybe I'm applying it now. But I was adopting to products that I knew and I used. So like Texas Instruments always had that little pre-iPad thing with the
Oh my
letters
God,
and
I
numbers.
loved my TI.
You remember that
Oh, I
thing?
did, yeah.
So I'm like, that's a thing. Because when you go to high school, then you get this crazy calculator that you could play Tetris on and type in boobs and
Yeah,
stuff
that's
like
what I was
that.
just gonna say. We
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
write boobs or.
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about there was a bigger, there was a tablet thing, not the
Oh, yeah,
calculator.
yeah.
There was like a speak and say or something like that.
No,
I
I
think
know
that
what
was
you're talking about.
yeah.
It don't matter.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so I bought some of that. You know, I was just buying products, whatever. But I had an affinity to that. So then in high school, I took a test because they're, you know, you're a freshman. They're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because you're supposed to answer that question your whole life.
Yeah, what do they call
And
those?
I answered all these questions, and then they're like, financial planner. That popped up every year. Now I
love
only went to
that.
that school twice, but here's what's interesting. I dropped out my junior year. I switched schools. My sister decided because we were paying. I was paying half my education at that time because
It was
You're going
to
Wisconsin. Yeah,
we went to
Wisconsin
a
Lutheran.
we went to a private school. All my friends are going there. I worked I worked not full time. I worked part time to pay for that. You know, because I wanted to go to that school. And
The reason I made
Go
them
ahead.
pay for half was
Well, 'cause you didn't
because
have the money.
prior to that, their attendance and their ability to want to learn was like zero.
Yeah.
So I said, if we're going to this private school and we're going to pay like $5,000 a semester,
Wow.
you're going to have to pay half.
I don't think it was
I-
5,000 a semester.
Well, maybe it was-
equatable in today's dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, lady,
But I
You're-
thought if they had to pay for some of it and work hard to get it,
That's very
They
true.
would
yeah,
give them a
exactly.
better-
And he did
which-
it.
fair justification. So
Yes.
either way, so I went and I worked and I spent my hard-earned money to get D's anyways. How you like that much? But here's what's baller about that. Okay, so I went. Actually, there was a point where I had one regret in life, and now I don't regret it
Yeah.
because now I'm older and I'm wiser. But there was a point where my sister decided to go to a public school. And she was like, "Oh, the money that you could save," because she wanted to buy. I was never into clothes. She was into clothes.
She
and all
wanted
that
to buy a
stuff. And she
car,
was like,
right.
"Oh, yeah." She wanted.
Yeah.
She did have a nicer car than me.
Yeah.
You know, all the other stuff. And she decided to go to Vincent. So I decided to go to Vincent too, but I was still registered at Wisconsin Lutheran.
You showed me that school when
So-
we first started dating.
so
That place
I-
looked like a prison.
It was a prison. So I went.
Wait,
I,
which school?
Vincent, the
Vincent
public
High
school.
It's a public
So
school.
I went from I'm biracial for the listeners that clearly people know me at this point, but I'm biracial. My mother's white. My dad's probably a 5-time convicted felon with bad credit, so figure that one out, right? You know, and so I went from Wisconsin Lutheran being the minority, right, to going to Vincent being the majority. You know who one of the minority was in my class? Danny Goki. That's a thing that you wouldn't know about me. I went to high school with Danny Goki. He was in my class.
So, in case people
the
don't
white kid.
remember who Danny Goki is,
he was one of
American
the
Idol.
he was
finalists
a,
on
a
American
finalist
Idol
on
back in,
American
like,
Idol. He
2000
was the
or
cute
whatever.
one with the glasses.
Whose wife died. Everybody
Yeah,
loved him.
sad.
So anyway, so going
Great
back to that.
voice. He was
So not
cute.
only did I
Yeah.
go, that was a lot to take on as a kid. You know, you go from like because you're trying to find who you are. You know, and you go from being too black to too white in like overnight. Yeah, you're like just overnight, you know, and that's crazy. And then I went from having horrible grades to like, bam, I'm having A's because the public school system is so far behind that my books as a junior were equivalent to what I had as an eighth grader. Also, for me to fail in parochial school, private parochial, 70% was F. While in public school, it was 60% was then an F. So really, in private school, not that it mattered, I never studied ever. I was like a C student in a public school environment, never studying, I didn't even cram. I remember a couple times, there was a couple rare times when I would catch a subject that I was interested in, and I would read it. I'd read it because I was just interested in it. And then I would take the test, and I had this revelation, like, oh my God, this is what studying is? I know the answers to these questions. Yeah. Everybody told me I had potential. Everybody.
So I have to ask, since we have your mom here, Is there any talents or skills that your mom has that you wish you had inherited?
I have all the brilliant skills that my mother has. My mother is brilliant, and sometimes she doesn't even know that. Because
It's very true.
She's but she's a brilliant woman. She's known better decisions for me than what she was willing to say to me, because she might have been afraid of my rejection or reaction to it. But I have to say that this woman, even though she hasn't said all the inspirational words that one might say, right? She's given me unconditional love regardless. There was a time, I was in my 30s. I was going through some of the
No.
darkest times of my life. Darkest. And I just remember I'm just on the phone with her crying.
Just to note, this was before me.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm crying. And I'm like, why is this happening to me? That's the question I asked my mother. You may not. Do you remember your answer? Okay, you ready? I don't know. And it wasn't the words. You understand? She was there for me, making sure that, and my mother, you were never my first line of defense, by the way. You were always my last line, because I always wanted to make sure that I can do this on my own, because with circumstances that we don't need to talk about, I was out at a younger age. So I'm fighting in the world at the age of 16, and I look back at that and thank you. That's a crazy fucking thing to say. Thank you. Because I had to be a warrior at such a young age that when I look now, nothing scares me. Nobody scares me. And it's I had to be afraid to learn how to not be afraid. And I think a lot of times when people want to be brave or think that they're brave, they just avoid fear. But I was thrown into a world of it for so long, that I don't thank you, honestly.
You're welcome.
Because you were there. You were, honest to God, when I absolutely needed you, I could turn back, and there you were. And there's not a lot of people that can say that, because you still, maybe you had other thoughts or ideas of where you wanted my life to go. I went out and I made some amazing mistakes. Amazing mistakes.
I let you make all of them.
And yeah.
But I supported you all the way.
100%.
Always.
With love.
Yeah.
Always.
So
I feel like we're at a really good point to wind down here.
Okay.
Because this is awesome. But I do have one more question. If you could describe each other using 3 words, what would you describe each other?
Oh my God, I love that.
I
That's
know.
good.
3 words. Huh?
Yeah.
Take your time.
Yeah.
gentle, loving, brilliant.
Aww.
That's really nice.
See, I should have went second.
I've always thought you had potential. So I don't know what one word,
Sure.
potential. I've always thought you were handsome.
Yes.
Yeah?
Heck yeah.
Even through the weird phase?
Even with the afro.
See?
Yeah, it's okay.
Why? See, this
And
is
the glasses. And the
before we
glasses.
get to the third word, this is where I object. Because some women, like I tell Becky this all the time, I think she's got bad taste in men. Because I don't really inherently
he
think I'm
tells
good
me it all
looking
the time.
at all. And I'm not pandering. I'm not looking. You could adore me. But I'm like, that's because I'll say something like, well, that's because you got bad taste. So you thought when I looked like Screech with glasses, I was handsome? See, that is your bad
That was the potential.
That's your
The
bad
potential.
taste in men. That, like-
Also a mother's love.
Exactly.
okay,
right?
fair enough.
And
Fair
I
enough.
think he's got a good sense of humor.
Yes.
This is true.
Humor.
Very true. Yes.
This is true.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I love
This
it.
is true.
That's really great.
All right, well,
Well,
that's a
I'm
good
so glad
podcast.
that you guys were on our show. Thank you
Yes.
for coming.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
We'll do it. I'll send you my speaker fee.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to
Speaker
edit that
fee?
out.
Yeah.
No,
Speaker
it's
fee.
fine.
Oh, yeah.
It's fine. I'll deal with his speaker fee. It's okay.
Oh.
Now we got calm.